Hey loves. Welcome to BlckBold&Beautiful, Mr. Thomas Ware. How are you?
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
It is going well. I'm Ashley Angelina, your favorite host on the East Coast, and I'm just glad that you are here joining us. I'm very excited about the topic, and just thank you for your yes.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So, could you go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners?
Yes. My name's Thomas Ware. I am actually a singer, songwriter, producer, actor. A lot of different hats I wear for the most part, and for I am very, very heavily involved in a lot of different types of movements, as far as like mental health movements for men, as well as community agendas with our young men in the community.
Okay, okay. And you said that you are involved in a lot of mental health for men. Could you go a little further into what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the most part, we do a lot of men groups where we get a chance to meet with guys and talk with them a little bit about uh, what men go through. A lot of times, we don't necessarily, I guess you could say, address a lot of the things that, or there's not a lot of platforms to address a lot of things that men are going through or have had trauma in the past with. And so it's been one of my passions to really meet with young men and older men and talk with them about the things that they've been through and uh, talk a little bit about some of the things that could help them and encourage them to do some form of therapy, counseling, or to be open to be able to talk to someone about it versus just being having it hidden and keeping it on the inside like most times we're told to do. So a lot of times that is has I've seen it help a lot of men in these settings. And so we do that. We've done something that we call faith and mental health tours, where we actually take the church out of the walls and we do somewhat of a music in collaboration with a setting where we actually have conversations in. So that's some of the things that we do, and we're looking to take it even broader and make it even bigger in our community.
Good stuff. I love a lot of points that you have made. I want to ask you that you can either bring the mic closer to you or come closer to it.
I'm
So just
sorry.
kind
Is
of
it
go, yep,
is it
no
low
problem.
for you?
It's just kind of going up and down, and I just
How
want
about
you to
now? Is
get
that
that
better?
much better.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, no worries, no worries. So uh what made you start this journey into mental health and wanting to help other young men that may be struggling mentally?
Well, I think one of the things that helped me, that kind of encouraged me to do it, and it's really, it, I guess when I got married, I got an opportunity to kind of see just how much I was affected in life,
Right.
um, by the
Yeah.
things that I went through, and it's not until I believe marriage is one of those areas where you kind of discover self more than
Yes.
anything,
Absolutely.
because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with someone um, that doesn't know the intricate details of your person.
Right.
Um, and so what happens is that in that instant, it kind of creates this place where, though you may not want to be vulnerable and transparent in certain places, you have no
Mhm.
choice
Right.
because it's either crash or burn. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
so it's one of those things where I believe it's very important for, sometimes when people get married, they don't even they never open up, and
Right.
and
Causes
so
a lot of problems.
right, and that causes a lot of issues. And so it actually showed me that it was okay to open up, because before then, I never really trusted anyone enough
Hmm.
to have a vulnerable moment, you know what I'm
Right.
saying, or open up,
Hmm.
and talk about it. And a lot of times, truthfully, what we've been taught is that, as that that's not a place for men. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not something that men do. Men don't address certain things of that nature. So um that for me is has been like the big uh that for me was kind of like the big catapulting moment that kind of takes me to the place of thinking, hey, if it's that way for me, I know that a lot of men are dealing with the same exact thing. And so in conversation as a pastor, I've had the opportunity to do counseling sessions with members and things of that nature. And these are the areas that I began to see open up more and more. And it was like automatically I could identify why a lot of the marriages were having issues and things of that nature. And it was really because, we come into these marriages and we have so many things. And it's not just about the men, but I love for my movement, I deal with the men the most because men have the hardest time to
Absolutely.
yeah.
When it's needed. I've done this segment, which is called Dear Black Men.
Yes.
And it wasn't to harp on anything negative about black men, but just to say, like, I am not a man, but we appreciate you all.
Right.
We appreciate the struggle that you go through. We know that it's not easy. We know that you fight the world and then you have to come home and be a superhero to all of us. So just to kind of shine light on that and to just say it's okay not to be okay. I'm glad that you brought up marriage because I think if we come to the conclusion of dealing with things and not just sweeping them under the rug, because sometimes we're dealing with things in the past that has nothing to do with our spouse,
Right.
but it's just overflowing into your marriage, right? So
Right.
something I have, when I realized that Anthony and I were clashing a lot, I had to kind of step back and say, okay, Lord, like, I don't know what this is. I believe that this is a union you put together. So I know that it's going to work, but I'm not understanding this moment, right? And I had to realize that he had trauma, I had trauma, and while I was going to therapy and stuff, he wasn't, and like you said, for most men, that's a hard step to take,
Yeah.
is to go talk to somebody about your feelings because it's not something that is suggested when you guys are little. It's more taboo of anything when you're a young man, and then that young man who has all these unsettled emotions and feelings is now an adult man who's married, who's trying to lead and still trying to figure his stuff out.
Right, right, right. And I'm sorry. I'm kind of getting myself adjusted here because it's like I had to set all of my settings with the heat in this house. It's like my
So,
AC stuff. I had to let it lower. So forgive me there. I'm kind of jittering a little bit and moving
you
things around here. But uh you're absolutely right. And the honest to God truth is we don't know we have barriers and challenges in
right,
our independent lives. You know what I'm saying? We just don't know that until we're challenged.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, for the longest, you think you're okay.
yeah,
You think that you're fine. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is for everyone, on both sides of the coin. But then comes the challenge. The challenge is when you have to live with someone or deal with someone and they begin to become a reflection of who you really are because you get to see how your tempers and things of mannerisms and things like that uh affect them, and then they reflect that back to you. And it's a lot of times it's hard to understand, you know what I'm saying, that
right,
we have issues, you know what I'm saying. And it's like I was raised this way and I thought it was fine, you know what I'm saying.
right.
So this is what I learned my whole life. So why not just adjust to me versus me adjust to
You,
what you know what I'm saying? So it's a clashing ground, but honestly, when you get an opportunity to start to unpack all of the things that's going on and you get a chance to reflect and go back in the past of the things that so many things that you find out that you've never forgiven people for, things that you have held dearly, you know what I'm saying, in your life, to be somewhat of a crutch, instead of being healed from it. you kind of figured out ways to just manage and live life with
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying with that,
Right.
and so that all takes us to a place where we have to really unpack all of that first before we can really truly see the truth of who we really are. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and how what we are and who we are affects other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think having a spouse and you know dealing being on my own healing journey
Yeah.
and being in school currently, because currently I'm in school to become a mental health counselor, so that's always a plus to
Yeah.
learn a little extra.
Yes.
um but to understand better not only where I am but where he is mentally, and for us both to be at a place is like, you know what, we're gonna just not heal for ourselves but for each other and also for the kids.
Right.
um that is a blessing because I know I have, a couple of friends who are dealing with certain situations, and sometimes men aren't open to counseling. It's like, I'm fine, I'm gonna get through it, I'm gonna be all right. Like, don't worry about me. But like, no, brother, you're not. Like, you are gonna be 6 feet deep if you keep carrying all this stress because you have to release it. It's okay not to be okay. And I told a young lady,
Right.
she said, I don't want, a guy who is, feminine. When she was saying feminine, she was saying just in touch with his emotional side, who's a
Right.
crier, who expresses himself. And I said, I mean, I respect that. So my next question to her was, in the sense of you not wanting that, right? When
Right.
you are in a place where you need your spouse to be soft and understand emotionally,
Yes.
then what? Now
Right.
that you have told him that he has to be macho in order to be on your side, well, you need him to be soft and you need him to have no emotions, because in marriage, there's a lot of times where that masculinity has to go to the side and you have to tap into that side of you where you
Right.
allow yourself to feel and allow yourself to express. But if you are always so tight and caught up, I just don't feel like that's ever healthy for any relationship, let alone a marriage.
Right. Right. It's absolutely not. And so, you know, I think when it comes to that, it's like we don't really process the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times it's the clash that happens where we're trying to figure each other out,
Right,
and why you're wired like you are wired as a female versus why I can't just seem to get it. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like
right.
I can't get it because so it becomes a challenge there because it's just something that's not familiar. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And truthfully, when it comes to the marriage aspect of it, marriage really does put us in a different place of discovery because you're in close quarters with each other and there's no escape from it. You
Right.
know what I'm
It's an
saying?
all day, every day thing.
Yeah, so
Right.
if you're affected, if you're affected, or if my wife is affected by my uh behaviors in any way, then she's gonna have a I don't I hate to say grudge, but she's gonna have a somewhat of a
Ick.
it's gonna be an aura there. There's like that's not inviting. That's not, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? At peace. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And so vice versa, the same way. But the problem is we can't escape that. Every day
Right.
we're here. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to really look at the fact that, it was okay when we were dating because you go home, I go home, and I can escape that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Now
We
we
can
going
escape.
home together.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So in dealing with each other, man, it's a
Right.
different process when you're living with each other. And so um it's really it's something we have to deal with. It's something that we have to deal with. And so when we look at just counseling in general, um counseling has never really been something that we, especially in the black community, in our culture, we've never it's just begun to be something
Yeah.
that's talked about and really accepted and
It was
explored more. You
definitely
know what
was
I'm saying?
taboo.
Yeah, because what we used to call counseling was like just talking to somebody mama at the house. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Who needed counseling?
right,
Okay. Yeah.
right. So you had all of this toxicity that was
Right.
like that's already bottled up in you, and then it's coming from somebody else who's angry, and now you got just bad views of the way that
Hmm.
when I was raised type stuff.
Right.
And it's like, let's really reason with this stuff and like really
Hmm.
think about it from a standpoint of, you know what I'm saying, like really, is this healthy? Is the things that we do, are the things that we do healthy? You know what I'm saying? And what's the end result, and where did it come from? And you have to look at every angle of it in order to really
Absolutely.
get a full view of what's going on.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to. You have to pay attention to what's going on when these emotions are flaring. Like,
Right.
what did you say? What did you do prior to me being okay, and now me over to being a little irritated? And what I've realized too, and this is just, I'm no expert on marriage. I've only been married for 6 years, but what I've learned is a conversation
Hmm.
will fix a whole bunch of stuff. When you can have an adult conversation,
A real conversation.
leave feelings out, and just be transparent,
Right.
that will nip a lot in the butt, a whole bunch.
Right. Right.
Anthony and I went to counseling, and we do counseling not because we're on the verge of divorce, but we just try to make sure we don't get there. You got to check
Yeah.
in.
It's cool.
So, one of his icks was that I like to talk to him when he's on his way to work about things. And I allow him to get that out, right? We're in therapy. He's like, I don't like that you wait until I'm on my way to work to have these conversations. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I said, I understand that. Let him talk. And then when he finished, I said, could I just please add something? He said, yes. And now this is something he didn't think about. You know why? Because he's a man. He ain't going to think that far. He's going to think at the surface. And that's okay. So I said, well, I can respect what you're saying. However, comma, you work. When I work, I have to get up. By the time I'm up, you're asleep. I get the kids ready, I go to work. All right. About time I come home, you're gone.
Mm,
Right.
mm.
And when you're getting off, I'm asleep because you get up at 6 in the morning. And by the time I'm up, you going to sleep because you've been up all night.
Mm.
So if I can catch you on my way from work and your way to work, that's the best time for me to talk to you. There's no other time. It's just like I don't
True.
want that to be the case. But if you're working all the time and that's our schedule, I just have to get it where I can get it. And it's not like let me mess your day up. It's more like
Right.
oh, he's on his way to work. I'm on my way. Let's talk about a couple things. So I said
Yeah.
I can respect it, but if it's an issue, we're gonna have to find common ground where we can say, all right, we're gonna take this day, this time, whatever, to talk about the heavy stuff because all it takes is a conversation. And
Right.
I'm learning that you can be mad all day or you can be an adult and talk about it. And
Right.
agree to disagree. It's okay not to
Mm,
agree because y'all are two different
mm.
people.
Right.
But just disagree respectfully and go on about your day.
Right. And one thing that I've noticed, and one thing that I've noticed a lot of times men will avoid conversations um that if there's any type of, how can I say this? I would say um any type of uh constructive criticism, any
Mhm,
criticism or things that you're addressing that may need to be fixed, or you're not happy that it was overlooked, or things of that nature, they'll
mhm.
begin to avoid conversation about that because it's very uncomfortable. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like, um, and for one of the things that I've seen a lot of times is in avoidance. A lot of times the avoidance comes when a person feels like it's going to shift the way of their thinking for the remainder of the day. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like if it's going to be a negative mood or a negative, is this going to leave me in a bad place? You know what I'm saying? At the start of my day. So a lot of times that's what happens. But um, for the most part, truthfully, until until the conversations are normal,
Mhm.
until um for a person, it is what it is when you have a conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Until you get to the
Yeah.
mind state of, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna have conversations. It might not go like I wanted to go every time, but hey, what the heck? Let's have the conversation. You know what I'm saying?
And
Until
love
you
each
can
other afterwards because it's okay.
yeah, yeah. Until you can get to that place, you'll always find avoidance somewhere in
Mhm.
conversations because a lot of times people really aren't comfortable with with reflecting
Yeah.
or what I'm saying, seeing themselves. You know what I'm saying? Or hearing anything that sounds like they fell short somewhere. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Because, and a lot of times for men really do they feel as if though if they feel that if they hear any way that seems like they fell short from accomplishing a perfect uh a thing, you know what I'm saying, or
Yeah.
being the right, the good guy that you need,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
automatically begin to doubt, to crush themselves heavier than what your words are actually,
Right.
saying. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
a self beat up type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I mean it's really it's just really weird. It's like and again, I keep saying this about our culture. It's like we've this isn't what we're used to. And we're used to that's why we have so many graves. We're so
Right.
used to in our community
Gaslighting.
fighting, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's like if we have a disagreement, it's utter destruction. It's like it's this we ruin relationships completely just from a
Right.
disagreement where
Right.
it could have been easily taken care of. You know what I'm saying?
By
Like
one
with just
conversation.
words. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's like really toxic. And it's like we have to grow past that and come out of that. And the only way to do that is for it to become a norm to have conversations. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It has
Right.
to be a norm. It has to be normal also to understand that I'm not perfect. And
Hmm.
sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have to address some stuff myself. You know what I'm saying? Some stuff, that needs to be addressed. So when we can embrace that, we'll have better outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe, is so important for us to learn. Like even with all of the mental health stuff that we do,
Hmm.
that's where our battles are most. It's in our head, our own
Yeah.
head. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because we beat ourselves up more than people on the outside, really. Tell you the
Yeah.
truth. Yeah.
We definitely amplify things way more than they need to be.
Right.
And what I have learned, I told Anthony all the time. I said, man, I'm so grateful just to be here, just to be here with life in my body because I know where I came from. I know I come from suicide. I know I come from dark days. I
Right.
come from those having more bad days than good.
Right.
Um, but it took me choosing to live every day, right? And knowing that nothing on this earth is worth me taking myself away from my kids, from my husband, my family. Nothing is worth
Nothing.
that, right?
Nothing.
And until you choose that you want to live that way, it's
Right.
just going to be an ongoing battle.
Right.
And Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans I have for you, said the Lord, is one of my favorite scriptures. And another one
Yeah.
that's becoming another one of my scriptures is so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? So what I have learned that if you don't believe that you can be healed,
Right.
you don't believe that you can be delivered from being depressed, having anxiety, all those things, that it starts first with your belief, right?
Right.
Because if you don't believe it, then it's not going to happen. If you say every day, I'm going to be sad, I'm going to be upset, I'm going to feel defeated, that's exactly how you're going to feel. But you have to
Absolutely.
speak life into yourself. And then I had to realize that I'm raggedy. I tell Anthony, I'm raggedy as a mango seed. Listen, brother, I can't judge you because my little life is raggedy. I be hanging on by a thread and the wind be blowing hard some days.
Right. Right.
But I'm working at it, and all you have to do is work at it every day. Work on you every day. And
Work
I
on it.
stopped focusing on, like, when we're having our rough spots, I just stopped focusing on him. And that's not to say I don't love you anymore, But
Right.
let me stop blaming you and let me see where I am bringing things to this marriage that's not working. How am I approaching you when I want to have these conversations? What's my body language like? Am I inviting? Am I listening? Am I
Right.
being understanding? Am I being loving? Those are things I had to consider before I get mad at you at how you respond to me. Because if I come at you a certain way, I took you right. I mean, I know me. You come here a certain way, you gonna get what you give. So if you give me an attitude, guess
Yeah.
that's what you gonna get back.
Right.
So I
Right.
think we have to consider a lot of those things and know that once again, it's okay not to be okay. And I think for men that I know that sometimes as women we have some sharp tongues. We're not, as loving and supporting as we could be, and we're not always a safe place for you guys.
Right.
And I think for me, that's been my mission this year, is just to be more of a safe place for him, because
Yeah.
I know the battles that's fought out there and how hard you have to fight to get back home.
Yeah.
And then you have the stress of being the head of household, your husband, right? You got to try to be a husband, you got to try to be a dad, then you got to try to be the breadwinner. You have to be all these things, and the last thing you want is to battle out there and then come in and have to battle with me.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And it's, it comes with maturity, time. The longer you spend together, you're gonna go through rough moments,
Mm-hmm.
and it might get worse at
Right.
first, but it'll eventually start to smooth out. As
Yeah.
long as both of you have the same goal in mind,
Right.
just to get better. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? It's not gonna happen overnight. A lot of it's just like habits, bad habits. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like it, and I love to tell people this. It didn't take you overnight to become who you are in life.
Right.
You've grown years and years. I mean, you got married at what age?
Me.
Yeah.
I got married at 26.
Okay, so at 26 years old, you got married. 26 years you've been poured into from the environment, family, and everything else.
Right.
And so who you are coming into the marriage at the age of 26 is it's not going to gel with the person you're with
Right.
immediately. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like this
Yeah.
is what it is. Because now you have to learn a totally different culture. Marriage culture
Yeah.
is a culture of its own in your
Right.
home.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the energy that's in there is from both of you. And that energy that he had coming in, everything that he's learned from whatever, how old he was, and everything that you've learned from from 26 up to 26, all of this now has to figure out what works in this marriage, what
Right.
doesn't work in this marriage from what I brought in. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of tempers, a lot of sharp tongues, slick things we say and stuff. A lot of the stuff doesn't work. And it's like, in a lot of times, it's not that you mean to hurt somebody or somebody means to hurt you with their words or actions. A lot of times it's just their action. It's just them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so they don't, the other person has to figure out, you know, what parts don't work in the marriage, and we start to get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? One thing at a time. I mean, I'm coming into my 15th year of marriage. So at 15 years now, I've had an opportunity to have a lot of arguments. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And go through a lot of
Let's
headaches.
not call them arguments. We're going to call
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
heated ministries, is what it's called.
He did what? Say that again. What did you
Heated
call it?
ministries. Heated
Oh,
ministries. Because no matter how you put it, it's
it,
a ministry. It's a
hey,
heated one.
it sound good. I'm telling you, it does sound better than the argument. But I mean, I tell you, after you um had a lot of the roller coaster rides, it's very important that um at the end of the day, the bottom line has to be in the marriage
Right.
that there's no second option.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
guess what? So now I have to extend grace to you, and you have to extend grace to me. It doesn't mean that I can't get upset when you do
Right.
what you do, and you can't get upset. We can't say that, but I will say what it does mean is that it means that no matter what, I'm gonna give you grace in your moment.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that you do that will hurt me, I'm gonna give you grace in that. So
Yeah.
you're not gonna get the worst of the worst from me because you've done what you've done or said what you
Right.
said. Of course, is it gonna affect me? Yes. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna affect me, and I might feel some type of way, and I might have some type of backlash. You know what I'm saying? Like from it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we're gonna make this work.
Right.
So we keep coming to the table and keep coming to the table. And as long as we can see some type of progress from each other, we can keep moving. You know what I'm saying? Like we can keep it going because us, it's you get it right, maybe 5 out of 10 times. You know what I'm saying? And if we keep on going, you know what I'm saying, as long as those numbers keep changing,
They're
you know
right.
what I'm saying, over
Going
time.
up.
Yeah, don't go up, but let it go. Let's let the amount of right times you get, you know what I'm saying? Let that go up and let the decrease happen in the negativity area. So if as long as that's happening as time is passing, then I believe that what needs to be accomplished is happening already. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so, and that's how you keep you keep that process going because we're always learning. We're
Hmm.
always um, we're always experiencing different things, new things in our body, or what I'm saying, health and things like that. Challenges that add more frustration to your marriage. Um, and so all of these things have to be taken into consideration when it
Yeah.
comes to how we deal with each other and how much we extend grace to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Now, when it comes to mental health and just being a Black man, and because you are a father, you are a husband, you are a brother, you are a pastor, so you are in different realms.
right.
How do you uh, deal with your mental health? Like, how do you keep it under wraps? Even if you don't keep it under wraps, what does your mental health journey look like?
Well, truthfully, I believe for me, I think it's very important to keep a monitor on yourself when
Hmm.
it comes to understanding how you feel.
Right.
And so don't become so busy in life that you don't monitor how you're feeling because
Hmm.
there's moments, there's warning signs that are there that says you need a break. You
Right.
need you need to debase. You need to get away for some alone time for a minute. Um, there and sometimes it might even be saying, "Hey, you need to have a conversation you know um with your spouse or that comes a conversation that kind of unwinds in if it's some type of stress in that area, whatever it may be. You have to monitor, and that's what I do. I monitor myself. you
Yeah.
know I know when I know when I'm overwhelmed, and if we overlook that and we think that we're a machine that can go without some type of, I guess you could say, attention, being, paying attention to those indicators. Like a vehicle is created with all of these lights on it that says when the oil is low, it tells you when the gas is low, it tells you when your air and your tires are low, it tells you when the car is overheating, it tells you everything. All of these sensors are there for a reason. God gave us the same sensory in our body where
Right.
we can tell that we're running low in areas of our life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We can tell when there's some things that's not right. You know what I'm saying? And we need to take a break. And so if we don't pay attention to ourselves, that's when you have the problems. That's when you really have the worst of yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So that's how I handle it. I really do pay a close attention to it, and I take my breaks when I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaks are definitely necessary. We went out to on my mom's side. We went to some family land over in Williston,
Yeah.
and it's country. And
Yeah. Yeah.
like when I say country, I mean that. Like it's country. There ain't nothing out there.
Yeah, it is.
But when I went, I unplugged. And that was my first time ever there. Now my mom has been there, like my sister has been there. They've been there. I had never been there. And it was just to have like the family history. Like this is land that my grandmother was raised on. Her
Yeah.
parents were born on this, land. Like my grandmother's first cousins that still living, they live in the same vicinity. It was just very nice. to just soak up all that history.
Yeah.
And I didn't have my phone. I think the most I did was take pictures, and I think even with that, I took pictures on my camera. But it was just nice to unplug, and for me, that was a reset. Like mentally, I wasn't drained, but I could feel myself slowly reaching that point.
Yeah.
And it's just like being there, it was so like serene, like it was just a moment in time that just kind of paused me, reset me, and when I left, I felt so much better.
Yeah.
I felt lighter. I was, thankful for a lot of things because not a lot of people can say that they have family land where where their ancestors have been raised and where generations of family have come through and were raised and have played, and even the trailer that my grandmother's mother lived in was still on this land.
Wow.
So it's just a lot of, greatness. And I think, like you said, it's important to take time for yourself. It is okay for you to be selfish sometimes
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
go unplug and be with yourself and reset because it's needed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely needed. It's definitely
And I
needed.
think we like don't realize that's why we're so snappy, and that's why we,
Yeah.
are so short tempered, uninterested. You're not really tired physically. You're so tired mentally that physically you can't do anything because you tired.
Right.
So I
Right.
think it is definitely, definitely important to just work on yourself for sure.
It is. It's definitely important. Yeah. And so many, that's what you see often in our communities when people go off the deep end and they do all of these things, that we see happening,
Mhm.
crimes and stuff that they hurt a lot of people, families that end up, uh, murder suicides and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and killing the whole family
Right.
happens because somebody went without, uh, without attention, and
Yeah.
nobody was paying attention. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
sometimes people can notice it, but because um, society is set up like it is, it's like people don't want to say anything because they feel like they'll offend people, or they're getting too much involved in their life by stating what they see.
Hmm.
But really, I think it's important for people to have people around them um, that care enough to pay attention to you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, like with my wife, we both do the same thing to each other. Are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, we notice when things are off,
Hmm.
and say maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need
Yeah.
to go out today and just, you know what I'm saying, just go to the
Yeah.
mall, or go, you know what I'm saying, go do something today, and don't worry about the kids. Don't worry about, you know, um, don't worry about things that need to be done around here. Just
Right.
go.
Just
Yeah,
go. Hmm.
we do that to each other often because we pay attention to each other, and that's something that it comes in over time. You know what I'm saying? But family is very important to be concerned.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
important.
Community is definitely key. You need your people.
Yeah,
You need people that know when you're off. That you need people that's going to, pull you out. I saw a video of a young lady. I think she had just maybe had a baby.
yeah,
And she had like three friends, and the message was like, friends dealing with postpartum. She just was in a fog,
yeah,
inaccurately. And her friends were at her front door. They had like flowers, they had balloons, and they had like this boom box playing a song, and they were all singing it. Um, I can't think of the song it was, but it was just such a nice gesture. And that's what I mean by community. Like
yeah.
people showing up because they know that you are in a certain space without you having to say it.
Right.
Like I know that you're not yourself, and I know that you're going through a lot. So let me show up and let you know that I'm here
Yeah,
in whatever capacity that looks like. Um,
yeah,
communities, I'll preach to the mountaintops. Community is key. Like my community is the bomb.com.
yeah.
My community rocks. And
Right,
I am thankful for them. They see when things like they know when Ashley is Ashley and when Ashley is not Ashley.
right,
And I'm thankful for that because not everybody has that.
right.
I had a student who she committed suicide earlier this year. And naturally I cried, but all of me is just like, Lord, like I wish I would have been, around, or, would have kind of had a clue, but I hadn't seen her in a while because she was in high school and I'm still at the middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like, Lord, like, I just wish I could have spent 5 minutes of talking, and maybe that have made a difference. I think that's why when it comes to people, I try to give you the best version of me, because you never know where a person is mentally. You don't know how close to the edge they are to just saying, you know what, that's it, can't take it.
Right.
And then I think the world is just such a cool place already. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
the people are weird. They're like mean. They're like
It's
heartless.
cute.
It's
It's
just
cute to be mean and to this society, and it's just crazy because it's like that's what we do to people. Like we've seen so many times where people in your neighborhood, people around, obviously, clearly, you can see something's wrong,
right,
and instead of asking or engaging in conversation that could help them, our culture has just been taught to write people off and
right.
yeah, they're crazy. That person's, you know what I mean? Like it's the dismissive type of spirit that people have. It
Hmm.
just kind of just like, just shrugs it off
Hmm.
instead of like, hey man, somebody needs to check on them.
Yeah,
And and we laugh at people, laugh about it. Laugh about, people being out of their character and
yeah.
not, you know, operating with full, what I'm saying, what we call like the all
Full
of their
day.
with the full
Marvin.
capacity of their yeah, all of the
Yeah.
marbles basically, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Um so it's just sad. It's really in our people, sadly enough, it's so much trauma that has been passed from generation to generation
Hmm.
that's never been dealt with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just it's sad because everybody addresses everyone's culture um concerning mental health, but our black culture has been swept under the rug for so long
Hmm.
concerning the trauma that we've been dealing with for years and years
Right.
and years. Our mothers, our parents, the grandparents, all of the injustice and stuff that has been done that has just passed through generation to generation. And that's why a lot of our people are so toxic because generation after generation we've been dealt brutality and we were taught that's how we deal with our children brutally. And
Right.
so we grew up thinking it's okay
Hmm.
to operate out of a toxic place.
Right.
And that's really, so it kind of puts us in a that's why it's been so hard for us to talk about stuff. That's why it's so hard to
Yeah.
go to therapy. Is
Mhm.
what I'm saying? In our
Yeah.
family lives is it's like if something wrong happens, no one talks about it.
Right.
Shouldn't
And
talk.
if
You know,
you think back to, like, our parents, and so the kicker is Thomas and I are first cousins. That's the kicker.
mhm,
But the go back to the time where they were, raised, and how things went. And then I can see, like, how my dad operates is still based off of that time. Like, we not in that time
right.
anymore. Like, we not in that time anymore. But I understand, because this is what you have been raised and has been embedded in you. It's
Yeah.
just how you function. But we're not in that time no more. Like, it's okay. Like, we're not in that time anymore. You dealt with some things. You've had some disadvantages, but look at how far you come.
Right.
You can't really dwell on that, and just be proud of who you are now. I
Right.
get it. I understand. But that's when you said that, our generations of, yeah. And there's a lot of things, like, so now I have to go to North Carolina, and I have to go for a big opportunity.
Hmm.
And let me tell you something. The brother man not trying to hit. He's just trying to figure out, like, do you have to go? Like, you won't have no other choice. I'm like, no, Dad, like, I got to go. He's like, I don't want you to travel by yourself. But my thing is, I'm 32. So I think I'll be all right. But in his mind, the worst thing that could happen
Right.
is going to happen.
Right. Right.
Fear, which has held him back from a lot of things. He's accomplished a lot. He's come a long way. But had he had not had fear there
Right.
and was able to operate a little further without fear, without feeling like he's oppressed or held back, he would be further too. Imagine us allowing the times our parents lived in to affect us in today's age.
Right. 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 Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah,
And it's everyone doesn't break through.
right.
Everyone doesn't. And so it has held back our a lot of people. Let me say not just our people, but it has held back a lot of people
Hmm.
simply because fear and being stuck in the past, things that have happened. And so we don't get an opportunity, or we don't even give ourselves the opportunities that are presented to us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, in order for you to do great things, you have to be sometimes the first one to leap. You take a leap, you know what I'm saying, and go against the grain.
Hmm.
And so, in order to break the cycles of uh, what we've been dealing with, the struggles or whatever it may be, or even just the generational boundaries that never have been broken before, someone has to say, you know what, enough is enough. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I'm going to step outside of this and
Right.
challenge, you know what I'm saying, challenge myself and, and do something different. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You'll never know if you don't. You know what I'm saying? That's my biggest thing in life. It's like, hey, you'll never know if you don't take the chance. And the
Right.
last thing you want to do is get older and say, I wonder what would have happened if I took the chance. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I wish I would rather it failed than me to wonder if it would have failed.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that is torture in the end. Like to be the person that sits around and says, "Man, I wonder if I would have tried, what would have happened." I
Right.
want to know. You know what I'm saying? I just want to know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to try it anyway myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just how I've always approached life. I'm going to try anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how it was.
Right. It's gonna be a yes or no. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just my approach in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Are you gonna? I am. It's gonna be a yes or it's gonna be a no. Even when it comes to this podcast and some of the guests that I've had, how'd you get them? I emailed them and I just said they gonna either reply
Yes or
with a
no.
yes or a no. Now, if you don't reply, I'm gonna keep writing you until you give me a no.
Right.
But it's a yes or a no. That's it. And if it's no, okay, it's
Right.
okay. It's okay.
Keep it moving. Yeah, and
Keep
one thing
moving.
I'm gonna tell you something, like, man, like, man, please. Like, I've had so many no's in my life, and you know, um, cold shoulders and no's over and over again. And but at the end of the day, I believe this wholeheartedly. It's like whatever you've been, whatever gift that you put your hands to, and you've been blessed with the gift
Hmm.
of any type,
Right.
there is a place for it.
Hmm.
And if the doors aren't knocked on, you'll never know which door is meant for you to walk through.
Well, listen, if you're gonna preach, then say that. I got
You know?
off the plate.
Yeah, yeah. You'll never know. You'll
Right.
never know. And so, I you know, every door that I've been through has been doors that people thought I was crazy for trying to go through.
Right.
And that's just bottom line. It's like, who do you think you are? You're from the country. You're from way out in a small town. You never knew anybody. You don't know the people. That you're a stranger coming into. Some people are not going to accept you. I just got in my mind. I'm so stubborn to where when a person says no, I say thank you.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's my response. Like thank you.
Right.
And you look at me like I'm crazy. Like, did you hear what I just said? I said no, and I'm like, yeah, cool,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then I said thank you.
Right, Right,
Yeah,
because that door
it
it
wasn't
wasn't
meant.
meant for me. So I'm saying thank you because you just pushed me toward the door that's meant for me. You know what I'm saying? So I have
Absolutely.
to keep it moving. And so one thing about it, if you keep going, success is not a matter of maybe.
Right.
If you keep going, success is a matter of time.
Right.
That's it. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's gonna happen. No matter
Mhm.
what, it's gonna happen because that's how it's written to work. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like it's written to work for those who stay, the small percentage who keeps trying is what gets through the doorway. You know what I'm saying? Like, but expect the big percentage to fall off
Hmm.
because most people are gonna give up. Most people are
Right.
gonna be afraid of the nose and everything else in between. So yeah, I say just take a chance.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, when it comes to, because you're a pastor, I'm going to ask you this. When it comes to therapy, I know that you have some people who just prefer to get counseled from their pastors, and then you
Mhm.
have some that says I'm going to go to my pastor for certain things, but then there are certain things I need to go to a professional for.
Right.
Where do you stand on that?
I believe it just depends on who the pastor is.
Okay.
And truthfully, the reason why I say that is because people operate from different places and they've been graced with different gifts. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And every pastor is not graced with the gift of counseling. You know,
Well,
um, no, every pastor is not graced with the gift of counseling.
can
And
you
it's
just say it one more time for the people in the
yeah,
balcony?
I will say it again. Every pastor is not graced with the gift of counseling.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because, you get a lot of people who operate out of their flesh
Hmm.
and they want to tell you what they were raised and how they were raised and they believe what they believe. And that's not what counseling is meant for. When you counsel people, you're there to listen.
Hmm.
And then the blessing of listening is that you have the spirit of discernment
Hmm.
so that you can understand and be wise enough to discern where the problems are that you're hearing. You know what I'm saying? What
Yeah.
areas need to be addressed, what areas people need to pay attention to, and highlight, and everybody is not blessed with that. They're just not. Some people really just come in and they say, well, my mom told me that when a woman does this, they should always do this. And
Right.
my daddy said that he never had to do this, and a woman should be this, and I should be this.
Right.
All of that stuff came from
Right.
plantations, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta realize where it comes from. It came from
Right.
oppression,
Right.
oppressors, and people were not treated like people.
Right.
And even in marriages, people were not treated like individuals, like people.
Right.
They were treated like property, and they were
Absolutely.
treated like the help. You know what I'm saying? They were treated, you know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful. I mean, I went to marriage counseling for 3 days. I think it was 3 sessions is all was required for me to do marriage counseling
It was
before
required. It wasn't. It was just a one thing.
from my pastor at the time, and he was an older guy, and
Uh huh.
I, I walked out of that marriage counseling like, man, I don't know what we just did. Like,
Right.
that I could have did that. You know what I'm saying? Coming
Right.
into
Right.
marriage, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that
Right.
was coming into marriage 15 years ago. And I'm like, wow. But I just realized so much, that people everybody is not healthy for you. It's just not
Right.
healthy. It's not. It's really not. And sometimes you leave in worse state than what you came into that counseling session with.
Yeah.
You with the wrong if
Our
you had the wrong person counseling you.
our counselors are definitely our people. The counselors that we have. Thank God for them.
Yeah.
I love the counselors that we have. Our marriage counselors.
Yeah.
And we don't just do marriage counseling. We do individual counseling as well.
Yeah.
So that not that we're just seen as a couple, but we figure out individually what's going on.
Yeah.
So that in your individual journey, we can see, okay, this may be a problem in marriage, and this may be why XYZ is going on. So let's talk about that. So I love that, but I'm definitely with you when you say um, it's, everybody not meant to counsel. And
Right.
then, it is about listening,
Yes.
but people, crazy enough, have to learn how to listen, because some people listen with the listen to get to respond. They don't listen to comprehend.
Right.
So they hear all they need to hear to have a response.
Right.
None of the important factors
Yeah.
that they need to comprehend why you feel this way, what caused you, none of that is just, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I can't wait to finish because I got something to say to that.
Yeah.
Opposed to listening, really and truly digesting what somebody is saying to comprehend, to give a true and authentic answer. So
Yeah.
people have to first learn to listen before
Yes.
you can even start trying to counsel somebody. Because, and then let's just talk about people who maybe you ain't know you need to be counseled. You can't
Yeah.
be in counseling for because you need counseling yourself.
Yeah. 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 And a lot of times it's like people come in with a I could say like they have it figured out in their head what's wrong with you already.
Yeah.
So they just figure everybody's the same. So they just kind of just try to put everybody in this cookie cutter type of
Mm-hmm.
position, and they think that one thing fits everyone. And so they come in like, I know what's wrong with this marriage already. You know what I'm saying? Or I know what's wrong with this person already. You know what I mean? And so and they miss it because it's really not, everybody's different. Everybody's different. And I've seen that from for the non-professional as well as even for the professional. Having been in doing psychology inside of a college,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I learned is that you'll notice that even with book knowledge, it's all coming from something called the school of thought. It's different
Right.
schools of thought. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
really, it's not a holy grail. You know what I'm saying? Or the final, because even with professional, quote unquote, professional counselors, I've seen some of the worst case scenarios. You know what I'm saying? Because really, people still can operate out of their own thought process. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's like, you know what I mean, of what they feel, different biases and different things of that nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really does require you to be in a neutral place to hear people. It
Mm-hmm.
requires you to be in a position that you're able to hear people from a pure place
Right.
and let people talk,
Mm-hmm.
allow people to talk. And they'll pretty much tell you everything that's wrong if
Right.
you allow them to talk. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to be able to really be able to lead conversations that are thought provoking, that
Right.
you know what I'm saying, that allow them to open up even more. And so it's just, counseling is very important to have the right counselors. It's very important
Mm-hmm.
because I tell you, man, it really can mess you up if you don't. You
It
know,
can.
pastoralship wise, you know, that I'm gonna tell you the truth. Sometimes people tell people that they need to go to a professional counselor because at the end of the day, professional counselors can recommend that you get some type of medication.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if there's some things that's really, really in another place. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
It's like, you know what? You probably, I thought, we probably need to have a separate conversation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I'm not opposed to professional counseling at all. And sometimes you might need that professional counseling because you need somebody. And like I said, it depends on the pastor, but you might need somebody who you just might have that pastor who gets in your business and stays there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of being able to, okay, we did the counseling session, but I'm not going to walk up to you every day and be like, "What y'all doing? How things going?" You know what I'm saying? And that type of thing. We had the session, and I hope everything works well until you guys hit me back up and say you want to talk again. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm gonna leave you alone. You know what I'm saying? I might
Right.
check in every now and then and say, "Hey, man, y'all good?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes people get messy with that, and now they start looking at you different because certain things were brought up inside of the session. So it's maturity. It's a lot of things that needs to be there. So every
Yeah.
pastor can have that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's just real. Just be real. Everyone don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for black men who may be husbands, who may be fathers, who are dealing with mental health, but don't know, who to turn to, don't know what the first step to getting help. maybe have some reservations on seeking for help, what advice do you have for them?
Get rid of pride.
Hmm.
Pride is uh the biggest beast that our black men have.
Okay.
Um, it's hard to open up, and it's hard to let down your guard and talk to other people because we always think we got to have it together
Yeah.
already. So pride is one of the big things that defeats us. But also be encouraged to don't just have buddies that you watch football and think that that's healthy conversation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, from the fellas.
Hmm.
Find yourself some men groups that you can become a part of that actually deal with and talk about things that men go through. That
Right.
is so important. So important. And if you can make it diverse instead of just your people. You know what I mean? Make it
Right.
diverse so you can kind of hear that this is what all men go through in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form.
Hmm.
That helps out a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, um, scale 1 to 10, 10
Mhm.
being the best place, 1 being the worst place. Where would you say you are mentally?
Oh man. Wow. I would man, best place. Best place. Absolutely. And the reason why I say that is because, like I said, I'm very aware, but more importantly, I'm very honest. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And that's what it requires. Like you
Yeah.
can't overlook things. You can't overlook. And when I say the best place, it's not to say, oh, you don't have times when you need those times away. No, yeah, I do. But the fact is that I'm honest with myself. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And I know how to regulate and pay attention to where I am. And I think that's why I would say that.
Okay. Okay. Good stuff. Now, um, of course, this is titled Dear Black Men.
Mhm.
Um, if you could give a snippet of a message to men of color who may be dealing with mental health or just struggling in any area as a black man, what would your message be to them?
If struggle, just understand, for every black man, understand that we all have started from a place that may have been a struggle in some way, shape, or form, or some type of uh, area that wasn't really the healthiest place for us to start in. But realize completely, man, that whatever you do reflects on everyone around you. And so being healthy, taking care of yourself, and living up to being the man that you need to be for your family and for your loved ones around you, all of these things require for you to be honest and transparent in life. And if you're not honest and transparent with every failure, with everything that you've gone through, if you're not honest and transparent, you'll cause yourself to have a meltdown. You can't fake being okay. You can't fake being in the best place in life. You have to be honest and you have to be transparent. It's
Hmm.
okay to hear people say that you did something wrong. It's okay to hear that you didn't live up to the mark like you thought you were doing, or fulfilling things like that you thought you were fulfilling. Always be able to take criticism, always be able to learn and leave yourself open to grow. We never stop growing and we never stop learning. And so if we can just adapt to that and just understand that it's okay, it's really okay not to be perfect. It's
Right.
okay. Just work hard and try your best to be the best version of yourself every day.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I appreciate it. It ain't black man, but I'm gonna have to take some of that for myself too, though.
Amen.
But I definitely appreciate you, giving me some of your time to do this segment.
I
It was
appreciate you
one
for
that
having
was
me on.
absolutely, it's definitely something near and dear to my heart. I am all things mental health, because, like I said, it's taboo and it's something we got to speak on more. So I do appreciate that. Um, are there any final things that you would like to share with the listeners? Maybe your social media tags, anything they can look forward to from you?
Yeah, sure. Yep, you can always find me on Instagram, the real Thomas Ware. You can find me on TikTok. It's Thomas Ware on TikTok. Um, I'm on Twitter as well, and I'm on Facebook as well. Thomas Ware, and there's also a CHMG um, Thomas Ware fan page on Facebook as well. In November, I'm releasing my first single with Warner Brothers Music Group and IGA Records.
What?
The song is called "Letting It Go," and it's actually a song dealing with mental health.
Okay.
Um, so please look forward to seeing that. It's coming at you guys in November, and we got some big things happening around the corner. We got a couple of new movies that are coming out that we've done, and I'll keep you guys posted up on that if you go to my social sites. So yeah, that we're just staying busy right now. It's just a lot of work, but yeah, very excited about this coming end of the year events that we got coming up.
Good stuff. Good to hear. Well, once again, I do thank you. I am Ashley Angelina. That is the show. Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas Ware. We look forward to hearing from you. Great talking to you, and we wish you nothing but the best love, prosperity. And I know that you continue to do great things. Looking forward to all the projects you have coming this way.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks so much for watching.
Have a great night.
Good night.